Hey, welcome everybody to Battle Pirates Crib. We got more than enough to talk about. Kixeye has been very, very nice about providing a lot of content for us to talk about. Been nice if this might have been spread out across a couple of weeks, but we will get into it. Lots of slides, and let's go ahead. Lady Cat,
Hello.
Two Doors.
Remember, sometimes it's okay to scream into a cold, uncaring void.
And Kenny.
How do I follow that? Hello.
Scream into a cold, uncaring void, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that your Tinder profile?
Cold, uncaring void.
Yes.
No, that's my
okay. And Magic Mike. Hell. Oh. Okay. And Derpy.
Changes.
Yep. Lots of changes. So let's get moving then.
Changes.
All right. Yes. Okay. Fix an issue where the complete instant buddy for a Punisher skin resulted in SOS. So, all right. Let's move on to some more recent bugs. Everybody's aware of the fact that the rules of engagement, the new PvP rules of engagement, dropped last night, and these are the bugs that they're already aware are in place, and some of them are, I don't know, attacking a base that's already a dead. Basically, you hit a dead base, you're gonna lose, probably 18, 19 medals. So just for hitting the base, not good. Number two, which is a little bit more complicated based on other things that they've said on Discord, the defender does not currently gain medals from successful base hits. The attacker will not lose medals either. Give it one click and then we'll go back to the rest of them. This question came up early this morning, last night, depending on where you live. It appears from what I wasn't awake for this or on Discord, so I searched back and found some of this. It appears from what I'm reading, they're still deciding on the win conditions for the base defender. As you see here, they're cautious of it being damage based, as they don't want to encourage other behaviors. So it seems a little odd that they would, because I went through the whole briefing multiple times, asked questions and whatnot, didn't get responded to. I'm like, I don't see anything about win conditions for the defender, just for the attacker, which is, we'll get to that in a minute. If you read through it, it's hard to figure out, and it's, considering how long this has been in the offing, it's sort of surprising that something like that wasn't figured out previously, but oh well, this is where we are. You can click back, Lady Cat, and any thoughts on the, I guess the most constructive thing is, what would you consider to be a good win condition, considering everything that's going on, for the defender, the owner of the base that is being attacked? Or do we need to provide more context through the slides before we have that conversation?
I thought it was very black and white. You either won or you lost. It's about either 100% or it isn't.
Okay.
So what, Lady Cat, what happens if
that's for the attacker.
Lady Cat, what happens if I hit your base, decide I don't like the angle I came in at, retreat, and want a new angle? Should you win? Should you get 19 medals?
No.
What if I go in and attack and maybe kill 2% of things? What about 5%? What about 25%? When do you start winning? That's the question.
Well, you win if they don't get 100%, but
so if
I think that it should be damage against them, shouldn't it? Not so much damage against you if they don't get to 100%. But so somebody could come in and peek. If they don't get damage or much damage, then it's a
But people could put long range water. I mean, there's already there's already ships that have enough range to damage ships as soon as they enter. So there's not really a safe space to enter to prevent the attacker from getting damaged in a lot of bases, or bases that could be designed with that in mind. So, but Lego, it's but people could, that's
But what if I have a basilisk? What if I have a basilisk fleet and I just time out before I get the outpost?
Then you've lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
weird. Because the attacker, last I remember, the attacker can retreat at any time. So making it damage base is just, I'm not going to lose medals because when I'm at 5% and I know I'm not going to win, I hit retreat.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't have a solution. I'm just sort of James is add a peak button before you hit a base.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, it's.
I do too. I don't look at these bases.
I don't know if it's
Scout
within,
button, I'd call it.
It's not within the coding, and it might take some time. I don't think it's in the coding. The other issue is it should be seen as an aggressive. It should also, if that did happen, should show up in the battle log. That, right. So who is peaking your base. But yeah, besides that, I think the rest of the issues with that would be technical. A win is killing 7 buildings. A loss is killing less than all 7. Yeah, but Ben, where's the bottom edge of that thing with some of the examples that Derpy brought up, as far as like, I go in there to look at the base, and maybe you've put your dock, or you put your retrofit lab right at the edge, and then so as soon as I spawn, I'm on top of it. That's tricky, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how they do it in Bounty, where you get points at a certain point. There's like, is it 25% damage? I can't remember what the rule is in Bounty, but I guess that's what I'm thinking of.
And that's one of the things that has yet to be really addressed is how do these rules translate to Bounty? That'll be interesting as well. And the ladies will love this one. Anything that goes over 1 minute should be a loss. So, any comment on this one, Lady Cat?
No comment.
Okay.
You're really happy with yourself about that one, aren't you?
No, I was just waiting for. I was waiting for Brian to, stop his golf clap. It kind of has to be both damage must be done to the base and damage must be done to the fleet attack. Yeah, but where do you draw the lines? Maybe that's. I'm just surprised with all the testing and all the time that's gone into this, that this sort of seems like it should have been figured out, but
it has to be tested by players of the game and players that know to look for things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And ask these kinds of questions. If they don't play the game, they're just testing the mechanics. But there's so many subtleties to the way this game works that you really need people to understand that.
Yeah, and I think some of them definitely do play the game. I'm not gonna name names, but some of them do understand what's going on, and one of the big things that it's not the everyday player that complains about it, but metal dumping is one of the big issues that they're trying to get rid of. And by eliminating a win for the defender. I don't need to explain what metal dumping is, right? It's just basically players intentionally losing and giving medals to one base, either to increase the ability of that player to take medals away from another player, or to build that one player up in the standings. So that's one of the things I think they're trying to get rid of, and maybe that's why we don't have a win condition for the defender at this point in time. So, any more thoughts on the win conditions for the defender? Okay. If not, we'll go through some of the other bugs that they're seeing at this point. Certain trap specials for portals are appearing blank and result in an error if you equip them. It will not charge you resources. Walls can appear on the water under specific circumstances. I'm assuming you delete the land underneath them, but I don't know.
I don't know how that one got out, and I haven't seen that in game.
I don't know if they work though.
Yeah.
I built a wall in front of my portal.
The mongoose turret appears to be firing through or over mountain tiles. Because of the weapon type is a rocket, it should not be doing that. Gatekeeper defenders are visible to attackers when submerged. Was that HTML5? But every time I've seen them, it seems like you can still see the little red. You can still see the health bar on the Gatekeepers. That doesn't appear to be a new one, is it?
That's how it was last week. I could see a little health bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It might be different HTML5 versus Flash. Sounds like they're not wanting that to happen.
Yeah, this does not feel like a new thing, is what I'm saying. And
Unless
it seems
they're
like
actually visible. They could be actually visible, not just a health bar.
yeah, but as far as the game goes, it doesn't matter.
No, but just saying if you take it literally.
Yeah, and Adams, Adams appears to be a big base defender. Well, if I defend and can't win medals, then if I lose, should it be the same? I can't lose any. So yeah, that makes sense. And we still have the pop-up if you click on somebody's base on how many medals you can win or lose. We just don't know what those conditions are. And from what we're currently seeing, you don't lose any. So it's very attacker friendly at this point. And it appears that defenders can have a surrender button appear during base combat, which is part of the daily TLC for Reaver Tide, I guess, snuck into the game somehow, which is interesting.
So I wonder if you can actually do that. Surrender and it's over. Don't hurt me anymore.
I don't know. I don't know if it happens or what happens. I don't know what, but
I feel like a safe word.
yeah, it's like a safe word. If you don't,
Oh, you don't want to know.
Yes. So
Stop it some more.
So if you see any issues, these are the ones they identified, which no reason, they're well aware of them. So if you have the ability to file a ticket with new things, if not, if you go to the Battle Pirates Discord, there is a bug report section that you can provide information to them at that point, so that we can get a full grasp of all the issues that are going on at this point. So, Yeah. Until they fix. I don't think it's. I mean, like I said before, I don't think it's a bug. I think it's just they haven't made a decision on this at this point, even though they call it a bug. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting for them to work out the mechanics at this point in time and not have any metal ramifications associated with it. That does make sense. So
Luckily, metals mean literally nothing.
Most
yeah,
of us, yeah.
yeah. I mean, but people really do it. That's a yeah. It's yeah. I mean, they don't really interact with any way to get ahead of the game, or purchase things, or provide you any other benefit besides saying you have them. But they do matter to some people, so we'll just leave it at that, I guess, and let's move on, because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Okay, we can go through that one. We do, from last week, we did get a new PvE Hall calendar. I'll cover that on Friday. We have a new FM that started an hour ago. I forgot to put the Saw Factory, the Subaquatic Weapon Factory art thing. Yeah, it looks like a mine lane building. And I don't know what the May contest is going to be, but that's coming up. And we have Bounty next week, and another CM Diary. So no thoughts, and we'll go to the PvE Hall calendar from last time. So right now we have VXP coming this week. It's an interesting time for VXP to drop. And we'll, I was having a hard time putting everything in the correct order, so that we could talk in a logical path. But yeah, everything is crosswise and whatnot. But you did get a bunch of free stuff, and you also get, when you hit the 95 titanium target, and I think the 103 base parts target, you get free 3-hour repair tokens for Conquerors and Defenders. And if you haven't already ranked them up, this might be an opportunity to just use up those tokens during VXP weekend and rank up those ships without really any cost to you.
It's the 109 base parts Reaver scrap heap.
Okay.
And the Conqueror and Defender repair tokens, they're different. Stack up to 5 3 hours each.
Yeah. I have is the picture on this slide, but yeah, it does stack to 5. Yes, okay. 109, not 105. Okay. And then we'll have I guess a Tier 9 Assault next week, which I'm assuming is going to give you the ones we've already seen, which you have the ability to get upgrade tokens for your Zealot. And then, we'll talk about this more on Friday, when we have one that extends out yet another month. So we'll have 1 month added to this, but I do like this feature as far as knowing when you need to have ships ready. It doesn't always work because it doesn't include everything. And I think one of the examples is the next click. I could be wrong. Yes, Tides of March, which provides you with Praetorian build, upgrade tokens, and kits. Right now, I have my my Devout Zealot, the flag, in upgrade for the next 8 days or whatever it is. But yeah, I didn't necessarily know this was coming when I did it. So it will not be there, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to do this TLC fairly easy with my 4 zealots at this point without the flag, because I can't suffer it with doing it with my Pegasus. It's just too long. It's too boring. It's just not, it's not worth it.
I did the first one on auto with 4 zealots, no flag, and I could instant repair in between each of the 4 runs. Whatever.
On the map or in the dock?
On the map.
Okay, very good.
So I've only done the first one, so I don't know if it gets any worse, but so far so good.
Yeah, so hopefully, be able to run through this. There's also another TLC out at this point that lets you get kits and tokens and whatnot for your Pegasus. I'm really I'm just waiting for the day where I can feel solid and just sort of melting down the Pegasus. They're just too slow and too painful of a ship. So, but if you guys aren't at U3 for the Praetorian, based on what Lady Cat told you, it seems like there's some possibilities just using your zealots. So go ahead and prosper. Okay. If there's no more Tides of March, rules of engagement. All right. I'm assuming we won't go too much detail on this, but quickly go through the changes to the PvP rules. The main thing is there's no more bubble pad. It's not percentage based. The win condition for the attacker is killing or destroying a player's outpost, warehouses, radio tower, and Great Hall. The warehouses, radio tower, and Great Hall all got upgrades, which we'll talk about later. And if the attacker does not kill all of these, your base will automatically repair. One more click. Oh, one more click. Okay. For the next week, we hope at least, maybe 2 weeks, but next week is Bounty. All buildings in your base will repair in 10 seconds automatically. So do not be confused with, this is not the new rules. This is them allowing players to adjust their bases without having to worry about somebody waiting for things to repair in order to upgrade or equip any of your turrets, portals, or other buildings. So this part is going to go away. So if your base if you lose the outpost, warehouse, radio tower, and Great Hall, you will not get automatic free repair. This will only happen if you defend off the attacker and maintain the structural integrity of at least one of these buildings. So, so this is just sort of a little tease, and I guess I put the little pop-ups in the wrong order. We are also getting a Conqueror repair queue, which allows you to either repair Conquerors in 2 different queues, or a Conqueror in one queue and a Defender in another queue, or a Conqueror in one queue and a PvE ship or PvE fleet in another queue. So it's meant to encourage more PvP.
It might actually be good if you've got friends to learn how all this works and start hitting each other. You're basically going to repair in 10 seconds anyway. You got your tokens.
Strap one of the buildings that the attacker needs to kill. That would be interesting if they did not figure that one out before. I'm jumping to the assumption that if you didn't have the building, it's already
in order for a victory, you have to kill all the ones that exist in the base. So if you don't have it, you're just giving the attacker one less thing to kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I had to build a radio tower. I had gotten rid of mine. But I had, fortunately, my building had stopped in time so that I was able to do some of these upgrades. I wasn't in the middle of a building upgrade.
Mike Stormcatcher is asking, change out the engines and the pegs to the new assault engine. I'm assuming he doesn't mean assault engine. He means the sacred artifact engine. I don't know if it's going to change the speed that much. If you want to do the TLC and you want to spend all that time in the FM, I don't see a reason not to. But I'm hoping the Pegasuses are going away, and there's no real reason to do that. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
It won't even be that much of a buff. It's maybe 10, 15% faster.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, but if you're willing to spend all that time for something that may not work, I don't see any reason not to switch it out for a pen sync drive or corrosive sync drive. But yeah, I'm not going to spend any time doing that personally. So, all right, if we're done with this part, let's go to the next one. All right, bubble talk. There are now two different kinds of bubbles. The first one is if you, as a defender, if the attacker gets to the win condition, which is beating all the buildings that we talked about before, the outpost, all your warehouses, your radio tower, and your great hall. You get a blue bubble, which will last for 36 hours. The red bubble, which we're familiar with from Bounty, is a personal bubble. It's if a player attacks a base 3 times and does not win, they will get inside of 48 hours. You will get a red bubble that will last for 48 hours. Now, the controversial part is the next one. If you hit that guy back, at least the way it's written, and I've heard it's been confirmed on Discord, you go and hit that guy back, your red bubble he cannot attack you again until that 48 hours is up. That's a little spicy, don't you think?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, he's only got it because he's hit you 3 times, so you should get your 3 shots out of him as well.
That's true.
Why not?
Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, okay. I don't say it's wrong. I consider that a little bit. It doesn't fit typical Battle Pirates logic that you can hit somebody and your bubble doesn't drop.
Yeah, but they've hit you 3 times, so
yeah,
it doesn't bother me. But I'm not a normal PvPer, so and to me it doesn't matter because if one guy gets a red bubble, then the next guy in the alley will hit you, and then the next guy, and then the next guy. Trust me, I know this. I won't say the word, but yeah.
Okay. It sounds like maybe some counseling might be in the order.
Maybe so. Yeah. When you get 4 different alleys, it'll make your alley the enemy of the week. I mean, they're all going to get you sooner or later.
Yeah. Okay. Adam's asking, can others still hit you? Yes. A blue bubble means that nobody can hit you. A red bubble is a personal bubble. It means it's between the base and the attacker. So, I think the example that Lady Cat was bringing up was if somebody in the alliance hits and fails on the base 3 times inside of 48 hours, they'll have a bubble to last for 48 hours. But it doesn't mean his buddy in his alliance or not in his alliance or just some complete stranger will see this red bubble. That bubble will not exist to them. But the thing that we brought up before is if you do not have a blue bubble, your base will completely heal back. So it's instantly or 10 seconds, one or the other, your base is healing back. So it's not, there's no more prepping. So yeah. Yes, just on him. So and also if a player is attacked 8 times, the griefing bubble by any player inside of 4 hours. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be players or player. I think it should be players, right?
It would have to be players because otherwise you'd have a red bubble.
Yeah.
After 3 hits, so if a whole alliance is after one person, and 8 different players hit them, I guess that person's going to get a 1 hour bubble, even if.
I'm assuming it's a 1 hour blue bubble. This one is the one that confused me. I didn't think it was. The rest of them were written well. If I'm in, yeah.
Yeah, I asked on Discord about the color of 1 hour bubble, and I was told it was blue, which makes sense because it's universal and works against everyone.
Yeah.
So if my base gets hit by a total of 8 attacks within 4 hours, I get a 1 hour bubble against everyone.
Okay, so it should be players.
But they brought they just brought troubling back, though. You realize?
Didn't we have that already?
For a 1 hour bubble is probably not worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I don't know. Somebody's on and they want to go after somebody, and
well, yeah. I mean, and what is an attack? Because we don't even know, is attack to speaking, or what is an attack?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it's just a peek.
Most of the time, the only frubbling I saw going on was during bounty. So this means they can't frubble during bounty.
What do you mean they can't frubble during bounty?
Well, I guess they can.
Well, it's perfect when you need an hour to get 10,000 points. You just get somebody to frubble you, and you've got an hour to play.
To get 8 people to peek you to give you an hour.
Yeah, and we're still, at least I'm in the dark as far as maybe somebody else knows. Are these 3 hits, do they require damage? Is there some sort of definition of what a hit is? Do they just have to go into your base and retreat? Is that a hit? Or do they need to incur some sort of damage on the base or on the attacking fleet?
Yeah, the frubblers need to know this.
My guess is that and this is just a guess, it's just a peak, 8 peak. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that they've defined what a hit is.
Okay. So now that we're done with the bubble talk, and there's potential that, this is going to be the new mask. They're only $100 at Walmart, so.
I like it.
Yeah, it makes it difficult to go shopping and things like that, but, it has possibilities. So, all right. All right, let's move on. If there's no more bubble talk. All right, we get the free stuff. If you logged in after the update last night, 5 free Defender build tokens. This should help mollify some of the issues that people had with some of the nerfing that was going on later on that we're going to talk about. So this is to make you less angry. The 2 48-hour structure build tokens. Okay. We got 10 72-hour defense platforms, which we'll talk build tokens, which we'll talk about a little bit later because we have another upgrade level for our defense platforms. They did stack if you had previous ones. I had 7 before. I've already run through. I got 17 upgraded. 2 fully built Gorgon Defender hulls. I haven't looked at them. I already have a couple, and I have some that I don't even use anymore. And the capacity is being increased for the Defender hulls. The rest of the stuff stacks over. The tokens are stacking over. The Gorgons, they increase the limits. Any thoughts or?
I mean, I'm not sure if all this free stuff really cancels out what many players feel as a gatekeeper.
Yeah, we're gonna get.
But it is a lot. It is a lot of free stuff. It's very helpful. You can change your entire base around. You can upgrade it to almost max with just base parts. And these targets you should be able to do for like 8 seconds of damage on auto. So it's ridiculous. This is really, really beneficial for us as players, all these free things. So.
Yeah. And Kenny, I'm thinking we need to have a break from some of this. I'm going to talk about the free stuff on the right. The week of accentuated drops for the base part targets and the titanium targets. Do you want to hit the 136, the new FM targets, after I'm done with that? Okay, we'll quickly run through this. For the next week, the level 109 Reaver Scrap Heap that I was calling a 105 earlier, mistakenly.
You were calling it a 103 earlier. Now you're mistaking what you're mistaking it for.
I called it a 101 what?
I called it a 103.
Oh, okay, alrighty. I haven't hit one because I've just been hitting the SSRBs to get base parts. So yeah, I haven't even looked at this one because I can just auto it and not worry about it. But I have been hitting the 95. But increasing base part payout from 300,000 to maxing out. You also max out on resources, which isn't really shown in the briefing, but all your resources get maxed out. You know, your basic resources, your oil, your metal, your xinthium, and your energy. Those all get maxed out at that point when you hit either one of these targets.
So it's a good time to get all those upgrades done on those free fleets they gave us.
Yeah. Or your warehouses and everything else, because I bet there are a lot of people that are going to be really flying up in regards to their level, because the amount of resources that we're spending to get this done. But it drops a 3-hour Conqueror repair token and a 3-hour Defender repair token. Those drops do not overfill, but your maximum, as you see below, is 5 each. And then you get the same thing with the level 95 Draconian Mega Convoy. Just hit one, maxes out your titanium and all your other resources. And you also get these Conqueror and Defender repair tokens. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, if you want to upgrade, or I'm sorry, participate in VXP Weekend, this might be a good way to do it. If you don't want to spend Defender or Conqueror build tokens that you got elsewhere, and do it au naturel, those tokens might come in handy, because at least with the 95, I just send Apollos in, and boom. Or you can send the Saturn flag, and you can auto them with instant repair on the map.
You said Apollos. Do you mean Pegasus?
Oh, Pegasus. I'm sorry, Pegasus. Yes, I'm sorry, Pegasus. You can just auto repair on the map and auto it and be all good. So it's pretty much free to get these repair tokens. So
Yeah, thoughts. Sorry. I applaud Kickside for this. This is a really big help for those of us that are trying to get up to speed quickly, especially with resources. Because if we had to grind out the work to get all the resources as well, it would have made it very difficult. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and get your walls done, as TSM says. I still have yet to adopt a child. I can't be asked to deal with my
I may
wall.
have done something that technically violates the terms of service and wrote a macro to scrap my walls. Don't tell Xi.
I see.
They're not gonna ban me for that.
It's okay. Nobody's
Okay.
recording. Nobody's watching. It's fine.
Yeah, no, nobody watches. Nobody watches. And and it's much less effort than having to adopt and feed and take care of a child in order to recycle all the walls and build them. It makes much more sense. There should be like
I'm still waiting for a scrap row feature.
yeah, there is a yes. Okay. All right. Should we go to let's go to Kenny on this one at this point in time. Oops, you're not quite ready.
I'm ready.
Go back.
Derby,
Okay.
I want to see you after the show about that macro.
I'm all set, I think.
Okay. Let's do a couple things first. Let's click over here on the third icon down, the FM icon.
Click on the buy gold icon too.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Let's go to prizes and see if anybody can read them. All right. We have two new, because we have so many things going on. We have two new armor plates for the upcoming, not next raid cycle, the following raid cycle. Armor plates for the next skirmer ships. There's 17. I can't read your 17.
17,500.
Okay, 17,500. We also have the Farsight heavy cannon, the Hellmouth, and the Decimator cannon, all available with a limit of 3 for 20,000 each. So, all right, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I didn't make slides for the FM stuff. So, and the 136 is the new target. It replaced the 135. I think it's worth 6,500. Am I right on any of this?
Yes, exactly.
You're right on all of it.
Okay. All right. I don't. All right. Well, I'm going to put you on full screen, and we can take a look at the 130 the new target. And I'm expecting a play-by-play from Drippy on this one. So
Brian can help out too.
Yeah, you gotta go comes. Alright, looks like he's going up top, stacking his fleets. There was a mortar that started to fire at him, and it looks like it left patches of fire when it landed, but they're not going to stick around like we've seen in cheese balls. I just made everybody triggered because I said cheese balls. Looks like he's waiting. Maybe he's trying to get a good sense of the rotations of those monoliths. Maybe he's just trying to see how long I can talk. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Oh, there he goes.
Okay, we're going for the driving stack method, going up against this first group of turrets here, turning off to the left. Hopefully you can kill a lot of that with splash there. It looks like rockets are pretty effective with that, although that would be increased by using a Molotov Maidens or Hellfire Heathen screw right there. First turret cluster is going down. We're going to start killing the second one, and we're going to be very close to engaging a group of ships next. Now, remember with these ships, the closer you are to them, the more damage you deal to them, but the more damage they also deal to you because they're splash-based and dumbfire weapons. First group of monoliths here is going to go down pretty nicely there. Bam, they do have a little chunk of help there, and looks like you missed one little bit of damage left on the sliver there, and that first group is pretty much down now.
And the two are looking pretty tricky. And there he's just going to keep on going through. Notable, there was a long range missile firing at ships as he came down and through. There's fire from south, and it looks like he's going to wind his way around and then go south, engage these first two monoliths first. It's going to be interesting to see if he goes for the turret group first or if he goes for that main ship in the middle. And a little bit of weaving back and forth, some dodging of some mortars. And turret group is engaged. while avoiding those shots, it's going to be a little tricky because he moved into a corner there while he was being fired at by the main ship, those mortar missile things, whatever they're called. Looks like now he's just going to roam on by. Looks like a pretty simple cleanup from here. Is he going to turn around or is he's going to go up the right side? He's pulling out one for a tank.
Oh, now we're going in for a tank method here. We're having a much new change in the driving strategy when we're almost done with the target here. Not quite sure what I think about that there. It means he'll take maybe it would be better to do that the whole thing. Maybe it wouldn't. I'm not quite sure what the sudden change was, if there was something in the target that prompted him to do that or he just decided to. Well, at this point, this turret cluster is going down here. We just have 4 ships left in the target. They're all going to go down with some splash damage, driving right over the top of them there. Not sure if that was the best idea. It looks like about 25% damage on the fleet, which, isn't great, but isn't horrible. Damage is about balance, penetrative, and explosive. Is that 2 hours and 7 minutes damage on the target?
Yep.
Well, that sucks.
Whoa. I did one before the show started. It was like, or just when the show started, it was like an hour and a half. I don't think we have vastly different builds.
Did I not engage that target? I suppose I didn't.
Well, good job, both of you commentators there.
Yeah, that was
Tag teamed it well.
that was interesting.
Never say it that way again.
Ryan, I'll tag team with you whenever you want.
Whoa!
Speaking of which, I have to head out. I got something to attend to. So everyone else take care. I'll be back on Friday.
Have fun, Derpy.
See you around, Derpy.
Wash your hands.
Going forward, I think it might be interesting. Near the end of the target, we pointed out that it pulled out a ship in front for a tank. There were a couple of tricky spots where being fired upon by a missile, a long-range one that may or may not be splash, and being fired upon by the raining down of they look like missiles, but they probably act like mortars. I don't know what they're called. At the bottom middle of the target, if you pull away on a tank earlier, you might take a little less damage, especially on the bottom middle of the target, because you're very tightly grouped in, because you have to get close to that cluster of turrets, and then you're also taking splash fire from those missiles. So that might be good there as well. But yeah, I just autoed a 127 and I got 37 minutes. So per raid, it's way better time repair points. Just keep autoing 127s.
I could drive a 141 for about an hour damage, I think.
Ooh.
So I'll probably stick to those 141s.
Yeah, that's my go to bed target. Hit those, go to bed, and do it again the next day. Probably do 127s during the day.
Is Hefe back from getting his beer?
Don't think so.
Well, what target do you normally hit, Kenny? Is Kenny getting a beer now too?
No, he's talking on mute.
Okay. Because he already got his beer. All right. What target do you normally hit on the raid? I mean, on the FM. Just like
the what is it, 127 checking here? Yeah, 127 because it's base repair. You can go as long as you need to.
So in other words, this is not a target you're going to hit again unless you have to.
No, not even at bedtime unless I'm too tired to hit 6 or 7 127s.
Well, what's 141? Or is it? Or whatever.
Yeah, have you tried the 141?
Doesn't that give 8,000 points? I forgot.
It gets the most. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Just hit like
I missed it. How much damage did he take?
A lot.
2 hours.
Just over 2 hours for 6,500 points.
Okay. All right. Alrighty. Well, I don't know. Let's move on, I guess. There's still other targets to hit. We got a lot to cover.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah. All right. We have the Defense Platform 11, we were given 10 3-day tokens. They're 2 days and 6 hours for me. And again, the titanium is easily obtained through the 95 target. You can auto it, fill up on res. You get a 75% boost in armor and deflection, or in armor. It's helpful. And you can get 10 of them done. It's stacked with the other ones. I had 17, like I said before, after they gave it to us. So
I thought I had some, but apparently I have to trust.
We heard none of that. I'm sorry, we heard none of that. Do you want to try that again? You are
who, me or Lady Cat?
Lady Cat is roboting really hard right now.
Oh no!
No, I think it's
not here.
I think it's
Uh-oh.
windy in Tudor Land.
Balls.
So you have a UFO.
Yeah. So
Is that why the cows went missing?
There you go.
So as far as your planning goes, even if you have pre-existing 3-day defense platform upgrades, which is what you should be using on these, you can at least get 10, which should get all your heavies taken care of, which are the important ones at this point in time. No. We have some, I'm not even sure what's going on now. Somebody's ratting themselves out.
What's that? I missed it. What?
Jeff Neal is saying that Kenny drove badly.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's a problem. So
We need to send Kenny to driving school.
yes, well, I have been watching the marble racing, which is fascinating. Anybody else? What?
Go ahead.
Has anybody else been watching marble racing?
Nope.
That is surprisingly fun.
Yes, I'm like, it seems to defy physics, right? I'm like, it seems like they would all normalize, and there's not one, because I'm assuming they all weigh the same, they all have the same circumference, they all have the same, but it's just the way they interact with the wall. I don't know. Maybe it is fixed. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be betting your college education on this, but
are you accusing marble racing of match fixing, bruh?
Well, I thought you were. That's what I was trying to get into. But yeah,
no, I thought it was really neat. I need to go back and look because I was half an engineering major. I want to see how those courses work. It looks fun.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen competitive tag?
I've seen competitive face slapping from the Russians.
Oh, that's real. That is a sport for manly men.
Yes, that is something as well. So even if you don't like the NBA, maybe that'll come back in Major League Baseball. But yeah, this is what we're
I would rather watch competitive tag than any of those things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's marble racing. I think he's actually Swedish, the guy that does it. It's not really a USA thing. He's got a YouTube channel. I think if you look up marble racing, you're going to find it right away. I don't think there's too many people doing marble racing besides this guy. It's well done. It's highly energetic. It's sort of like, it's sort of like when Derpy, calls the Kenny hitting the but it's way over the top as far as it comes across as a soccer game or a football game or whatever you want to call it.
I'm watching it now. It's pretty cool.
So we can watch marble racing later. Got a lot to cover.
Yeah. So I would recommend that you, as opposed to upgrading labs or mountains or portals at this point in time, I would do your defense platforms, up to the point in time where you've exhausted all your tokens, because of the availability of the targets that will fill you up on titanium and resources, as opposed to having to grind it out later. And again, there is no bubble pads, so that's not something to be concerned with. So let's move on to the next one. All right, warehouse level 18 also can be done with quickly and free. Is you can use base parts in order to do this, also costing you titanium and a shitload of resources. So it's great that these targets fill you back up. So I would get these things done this week if you can, while you have the availability of both basic resources and advanced resources. So more specifically, titanium and base parts. So I would get these done before it becomes a grind to do them. So the increases are in the deflection. This is one of your important buildings as far as defending your base. But you do see large steps up in deflection. I don't know at this point if it helps that much or not, but might as well get it taken care of before Warehouse 19. So, any thoughts on Warehouse 18?
Numbers went up.
Yep, numbers went up. Alrighty. And let's see what's next. And more. These are the other two buildings associated with the outposts, the warehouses, radio tower level 2. They got new artwork. They got more armor, and they pretty much instantly upgrade. So it's not really an issue. So just get them done.
I like the artwork though.
Okay. Yeah, the other one, the radio tower, looks more like a cell phone tower, but it's whether it's getting to your cell phone at this point, like it was originally intended, doesn't appear to be what's going on. All right, let's move on. We got a lot more slides. All right, we have a lot of tuning. We see a buff associated with the Warhound and its weapon. The armor increased from 40 million to 47.5. Thermal increased from 10 to 75. I'm assuming this was put in place to deal with the Gatekeeper. And also what happened to the weapon associated with it. The reload went up a little bit, but it doubled the damage against submerged targets. So this is more what I find to be
questionable.
Well, it's part of a whole questionable thing as far as just beating down the Gatekeeper. The Gatekeeper is not coming out well at the end of this. So at the end of the story,
coming out well before this. So
well, and this is the first page in the story as far as we're dealing with the Gatekeeper. I think in a sort of onerous manner.
Really dumb question, but what's motivating this? Like, I mean, are they literally not happy with the fact that Warhounds were slowly not getting in every time?
I think it was the fact that if you put the right builds, because there were some builds that you could put on the Gatekeeper that kept them submerged for so long, that basically made it so you couldn't get through gates if you had the right build associated with it, because it did have an aura 5, and we'll get more into that as we progress. But I think it was basically became a roadblock to hitting bases if somebody had figured out the juju or whatever to stop them. So let's move on because we got a lot of these slides. The trencher, again buffed, increase in deflections by 15,000 for most of them, and then 45,000 for explosive, and yeah, just buff. Then the cannon associated with it, buff, 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 buff. All right.
Like they weren't flattening us enough as it was. But okay.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. We've adjusted the Gatekeeper's repair order. Originally was not intended to share heals. I think it means that the aura cap was supposed to be set at 1, when in reality the aura cap is beyond their programming or whatnot, beyond their code, and so it was, you could have 5 in theory or 3 gatekeepers healing a single object. So they're trying to get away from that and allow people to bust down portal gates. They reduced the range from 60 to 45. That's not so bad. I can understand that. Target health threshold changed from 85 to 50%. So this means that if you're trying to keep a bastion wall up, the Gatekeeper doesn't start working until it's already at 50% health, which is a huge change. And then the amount of the frequency associated with how often it would do it got cut in half. It used to do it every 0.2 seconds. Now it's every 0.4 seconds. I think the second and third ones were in combination over the top. But we'll see is how it plays out. But this is a massive nerf to the Gatekeeper.
And we're not happy about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much dead, and that part of it is useless at that point. So
they buffed the Warhounds, and a lot of us. I'm not a PvP player. I know my base was an easy base, but for 6 months, Warhounds have been walking it, and finally, the Gatekeepers were slowing them down a little bit. Wasn't enough. It wasn't stopping them. I wasn't keeping them out of my base, but at least I did more damage to them, so I felt better about it. And with them buffing the Warhounds and reducing the, I don't feel good. Now I know I need to just wait and see how all the changes work together, because there's other buffs that they did do to some of the guns, but this has me not feeling good about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gatekeeper's been out for what, a month and a half?
Somewhere around there. It came out in last bounty, right?
Yeah,
last bounty. So not that long.
I worked hard.
It's 3 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago?
I busted my ass to get 3 of them. And now it's like, what's the point?
I mean, the one thing that I thought when I first saw the one thing I thought that'd be an issue would be the rate of repair, especially since it's not being taken from the hull itself. 2 million damage every 0.2 of a second. And I mean, I didn't really go through the numbers. And obviously it's going to be different now because you have higher armor and, importantly, higher deflection values and so on and so forth. But it feels like they're saying, wait a minute, that the healing is too much. But that's something that should have been figured out beforehand. I can understand if you need to make sure the functionality of the healing aura works, but you should have had testing in some form or another that told you metrics of what you thought would be a reasonable amount of damage that attackers in, I guess, bracketed based on technology or specials or whatever based on what ships they had. Like, this is how much a well-built Warhound would do. It would be such a number. And then, you multiply that more, and then this is how much a Basilisk would do. And you get all that data and you come up with a good number that you think reflects the meta at the time. And you have the information of the attacker meta. Apparently it's a heck ton of Warhounds, so you're going to base it more towards that. But like, you should have been able to figure this out. The healing amount was not that hard, and you're basically having it. So that's an oops. That's a big old egg on your face there.
Well, it's hard on those PvE players because we don't normally PvP, so we're not good at the math that's behind it.
But that's not our job.
Yeah, I agree. But this was like the first ship that we had hoped would keep these damn Warhounds out of our base. And, once we learned how to use them, and finally, I got 3 first bounty, but I'm still on my 3rd one now. It's like, what's the point? Because it's not stopping them. I can't stop the Warhounds. I'm not sure 3 would help, and now that they've nerfed it, it scares me. This was our first defense hall, tier 9 defense hall. And we need something. Those Warhounds have been walking our bases for 6 months or however long they've been out. We're tired of it. A lot of us that don't PvP.
And the thing is, too, I'm looking at these changes again. They made some changes to make it more effective in a smaller area. There's only 2 targets, shorter range, change the target health. I think these changes might have been to prevent an unkillable turret, basically. A turret that will heal itself faster.
Not a turret. I think it's the portals. The portals with the Bastion seawall, I think that's what this was put up to, because the portals become much more important if you can stop with some like the short range cannon turret and whatnot. If you can stop somebody and just fire at them all the time, you're going to kill them, along with like the things we've talked about before in the show, like using the D104N to throw out stacking ice fields that reduce the ability of reduces the defenses of the attacking ship. This allows you to. This prevents you from stopping ships for as long as you were doing it before.
So I'm not sure what percentage of the issues were with with the portal, but if the issues were a lot with the portal and not so much with everything else, I'd wonder then why they didn't nerf the portal, lower its deflections, lower its health value, and then if people moved and instead did another thing with the Gatekeeper, then they could think, oh, maybe the Gatekeeper is the problem, and then these sorts of things would make more sense. I'd rather not. I would rather not see this nerfing the new ship that a lot of people can get, nerfing the widely available thing. I'd rather. Okay, well, I don't know if I want to go down this route of nerfing the narrowly available thing, the wall. But if it's more so the wall, then I could see it. But then you're pissing those people off, and realistically, the high-end PvP players are a large percentage of the revenue in the game as a whole. So, it's not easy.
Yeah, and Mitchell's bringing up a Big Mac reference, and it does make some sense, but let's move on. We still got a shitload to cover.
Oh, that's right.
It's okay. They nerfed the Basilisk by decreasing the combat speed, and they nerfed the Subjugator, which they gave us for free, and the upgrades, whatever. But both from decreased deflections and combat speed and explosive reload. And the breacher, which was sort of inside baseball version of this anyways. So they removed all of that. So, and let's move on. All right, so I remember asking these questions to some of the game designers before, like, how does, some of these like portals that slow down stuff versus all this, how do they stack? I guess at that point they didn't stack because I never got an answer. Like I never got an answer today or yesterday when I asked one of the PvP game designers what the win condition was for the defender. Still no answer. But they appear to stack, and so they've basically been reducing the effectiveness of them because they do stack, which is interesting. And I think we'll get a little bit into this because I do have a new favorite. I'm not sure if it works, but I do have a new favorite for your non-heavy turrets. But they reduced the turn speed reduction from -30 to -15, and duplicate order cap reduced from 999 to 1. And yeah, it's so.
It seems like they're nerfing all the defense or more defense stuff than they are the offense stuff.
Well, it's been a mix. I mean, because you saw. We'll go back a couple.
No, I know they nerfed some of the other halls, but most are using warhounds anyway. So
Let's move on then to the glacial one. I haven't seen this in action. They've. I'm not sure how many people remember the mechanics of the glacial. It would go from like -5 to -90 combat speed over the course of like 10 seconds or whatnot. They've gotten rid of that. They made it static. So it's now -25 max, which is probably somewhere in the middle. But the size of the field that it creates, this mechanism, is larger. But I have not seen this in action. And it doesn't, grow like a glacier. So, because part of the fun was like, it's like a glacier. It's spreading and whatnot. Glaciers don't move that fast, but we'll get over that. I don't know. Let's move on. Here's the one I sort of like now. The cryo adder. No longer reduces weapons reload by a flat amount of time. Now reduces reload by 25% for all damage types. So that and combat speed reduction changed from -15 to -25. So it increased it. And if I recall correctly, the cryo adder has a range of 191 that goes in all directions. And these things do stack on top of each other. The fire field, even though it's an ice field, only has a 10% chance of showing up. But I wish there was, anybody on chat and whatnot. For a non-heavy weapon, what else do you want? Well, non-countermeasure, non-heavy weapon. What do you want to have in those non-heavy weapon slots?
See, I had all the slowdowns I could get trying to slow them down.
Well, this has -25. Yeah.
So I'm liking this. This is good.
And it's reduces the reload and minor reductions and other things. So. Anybody on in the show or elsewhere, This is my favorite right now as far as non-countermeasure, non-heavy turrets. So I'm not sure it's going to work, but we'll see. So if no comments, let's move on. All right, I already did the accuracy of the far side increased from 100 to 110%. And then the Decimator cannon, damage increased from, this one has not been out for a long time, from 1 million to 2 million. Also available in the FM, and had accuracy increase from 80 to 130%. So if you, buff. Yep. I mean, all these are buffs.
Yeah, these are good things for the defender. So they take away with one hand and they're giving back in another.
Yeah. So it sounds like balance to me.
Maybe
if they do it right. But I think that's what they were trying to do at this point in time. And the Hellmouth heavy thrower, that one's tricky. Fall off is the amount of damage from the center of the origin of a splash producing projectile, how much damage is lost. It's not in your blueprints. So now we know it was 0 before, now it's 50, but they increased the splash diameter or radius. So yeah. So these ones got buffed, and let's move on. Yep. Okay. Same slide. Go ahead.
yay!
Yes.
The launchpad repair time got down from like either 12 hours or 8 hours or whatever it was down to 20 minutes. I did some talking associated with this one because I consider this launchpad to be more of a PvE type of building than a PvP one, even though it has some crossover, but it's good to see that's reduced significantly. And I don't know why the dock health was increased. It has not increased as far as I know, the repair time.
I wish the repair time would decrease. I wish it was 20 minutes too.
Yeah. That would make a lot of sense for a lot of people.
It was frustrating during the raid to keep getting hit because I didn't have the dock repair tokens, and I didn't want to keep opening chests because I was full and I felt like I was throwing away resources. That's for my emergency use only. So, I was kept having to coin my dock to be able to play the game. So I wish it was a little bit less. I wish they had added that. But, I guess that increasing the health makes it harder for them to kill. That's not one of the buildings, though, right? That they have to get?
No, it's not one of the buildings, no.
Yeah.
That's why I was, I didn't even remember what it was originally, so I think it's probably tripled, but I don't know. But I guess it makes it harder to accidentally kill the dock, I guess is the...
Which is good. I remember back in my PvP days, which was way before the refactor, I used to try to avoid the docks on the baby seals at least.
Okay. All right, let's move on. I think this is the last part of the PvP change, and more I was going to do. I'm not sure what happened to Derpy because this is the part that I wanted him to participate in. Make the new remove. How to make the new Gorgons remote target? I think they all should. Does anybody have the ability to bring up the new Gorgons? Why they would not? The new Gorgons remote target based on the range of the defense turrets and the weapons associated with those. So
if you brought them all in.
Yeah. If you took them all off your front line and be like, oh, okay, now that's all taken care of. And that sort of sounds like what happens if you brought them all into a central island and you don't have anything ringing anymore. Yeah, all the remote targeting is probably gone if that's what you've done.
But did anybody's Gorgon even dent a Warhound? Mine didn't. Just curious.
He's in a Zoom meeting. Ladies, cover your eyes. All right. Let's move on. All right. We were given the, like I said before, I wanted Derpy to be on there because he's done YouTube videos associated with this as far as what we received in the
Strategy guide.
Yeah, the strategy guide and what we saw. PT boat matches up mid-range corrosive scatterguns, which mean they could fire at you. Not that powerful. Let's move on. All right, Atlas Carrier had a long-range penetrative missiles, which we saw, and close-range corrosive scatterguns. I saw them both firing at the same range, and we had Magic Mike doing a little demo at one point in time. This is misleading. Let's as we go through here, red means I don't believe it, and green means I do believe it. So
yeah, I agree. I don't believe it either.
But there's no green.
Not yet. We haven't gone through all the slides. That's why I'm like, yeah, I got a ton of slides. So, but at this point, the Atlas Carrier corrosive scatterguns, and they're so freaking hard to see. I mean, it's like a little green blip that pops up every once in a while, and yeah. So, all right, let's move on. All right, the Warbird mothership, short range, low damage corrosive scatterguns. Blip, blip. Oh, not that fast. Blip. Blip. Another fire from the short range. The very short range, you can outrange. All right, next one. All right, Spotlight. Yeah, they did what they said.
Well, I saw some people were complaining in forums that they felt like they were getting damage outside of the aura.
It was probably due to these short range scatterguns that were, yeah, I don't know. But let's continue to go through. All right, the Valkyrie. Yes, you could outrange the Valkyrie as far as the short range corrosive scatterguns. Everything else was accurate. Let's move on. Sentinel turret, long range. Yes, you could counter all of them. So that was accurate. Let's go on. Yes, you could outrange the Venom turret, and most of them you could splash out. So let's move on. So I think we've pretty much reached the end of things to discuss. So
wait a minute. This coaxial halo, you got it in red.
Well, this is what I did before. It cannot be countered. I just want to be,
Okay.
Yeah, I just want people to be aware of that. I don't know. You can click again. I have, So, that's not necessary. So, yeah. So, is anybody have any thoughts on any of this?
So that coaxial missile turret thing is the sneakiest motherfucking turret. Like,
How so?
when you think about it, it's actually like the hunter killer mortar, but sneaky. Yeah, you can evade it. targeting the ship with the highest health means it rotates through. Really, what that means is that you can't. You have to make your ships the same or near enough the same to give them any decent survivability. I had some ships.
Well, except for all the fucking splash damage. I mean, that's what the main point of what I was talking about with all these scatter guns that were listed as short range. Some of them you can outrange, some of them you couldn't outrange. So that also does the same fucking thing as the Halos, as far as evening everything out, right?
You could build. I think it's easier to build around the scatters than it is to build around this. You put corrosive survival on and you move fast. And yes, you're not gonna perfectly dodge everything, but in general, you'll do pretty well. And like, yeah, sometimes I'm an idiot and ran into the scattergun turret, and sometimes I'm an idiot and I ran into the damaging aura, that ship, that turret, their scatterguns that are close. Like, but those are mistakes that I made. I drove poorly, and that is my punishment. I get chunked out a bunch with corrosive damage. This keeps firing. Its min range, which would theoretically be its weakness, is like, it didn't fucking matter. It was in groups of 4 on the targets where it didn't matter. You had to get up real close to the end. It was hard. It was very hard to get inside the minimum range, and even when you did, you were still getting pelted by several other ones. And if you took out the resisting target, the resistance buff building at first, generally you'd have these things dead before pulling in close would matter. They demand evade and they demand armor, which really splitting the armor 2 and 2 isn't so bad. But they demanded an entire evade special on each of your ships. It's the fact that it's pervasive across the entire fleet. And when we're thinking about upgrades, that's going to be a big factor too. When we're thinking about survival and such, the 20% evade on U2 suddenly looks a lot better. I haven't run the full numbers on what the difference is, but there might be a point where that 20% evade to evade this is going to do you more against this turret in particular than that 6,400 survival on U3 or that 12,800 survival on X1. And it's going to be a lot easier to get done across your fleet. So this one turret defines significant portions of how you build and upgrade your entire fleet. More so than anything else does, because you can just slap 2 and 2 on, but this you're prioritizing evade over a heck ton more damage.
Yeah, and you also have the issues with the drones. You know, which you have the drones.
The drones that we fire, or the PT boats.
The drones, the drones that
weren't in the strategy guide.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get a beer because I think Lady Cat's gonna go for a while on the drones.
No,
so.
I'm not making it.
I mean, we saw more or less how they worked that one time, and it was kind of not that good. I'm not gonna lie. They kind of they didn't even seem to go for the closest target. They ran off, did whatever, got
Did you
shot
watch
at.
the videos that people made with all the drones?
Not the videos after. I just saw Derpy do his thing where there was only one of them.
One drone did nothing. You're right.
To be fair, if you have more drones and the X1 on the flag gives it doubles its damage, then maybe there is something there.
There is something there. Those people were doing those targets for next to nothing, from what I understand. I don't know because I didn't have the opportunity to try it.
Well, I mean, in a sense, that's what they should have earned that because they got their ships to X1.
I agree 100%. They earned every bit.
I mean, that's fine, but like, getting a ship to X1 should really mean something. And I think the drone doesn't really cut it. The survival is nice, but again, survival on a single ship is lessened by this coax halo. Not so much because you're going to take more hits to get down to a lower health. So a fifth of the time you're going to be taking a hit or two that your other ships wouldn't take, and you have, let's see, that's 12, 8, 250, 300 up to 400. So you've got about 25% more effective health. I'm just guessing against these versus others.
I can't see chat. Is anybody in chat that's still on? Did they have a full fleet of drones, and how did they do? Did it make a difference?
Yes, they did make a difference. And also the remote raiders made a hell of a difference to the drones.
Yeah, which is another thing I'm upset about, because I had 3 remote raiders before the raid, and I threw them out knowing how easy they are to get. So, because I use them when I do shipwrecks to help my speed in shipwrecks. So I always have a few. So I threw them out thinking I'll just get them later. And now it's a good crew. And I don't know, has anybody rolled one since the raid? I'm just curious.
No,
I haven't.
I tried last night to roll some that didn't get any at all.
So I want my 3 remote raider crews back. Because I didn't know this change was coming. But
I did find with the drones that if you actually targeted a ship and you got to within a reasonable distance of it, they would actually go towards that ship. But it wasn't, if you tried to do it from too far away, you had no hope of getting them to go where you wanted them. They seemed to have a mind of their own.
So you got to do the targets without any drones, and then you did targets with drones? Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so would you say it was a complete game changer into how you played it?
No, it was still, it took a lot more trying to figure out how to get the drones to actually help you rather than hinder you.
Okay.
Because with him wandering off by himself, you sort of lost track of where things were, so you were getting fired on by other things because you're worrying about what the drones were doing.
Yeah, I could see
but,
that.
You could easily take out the Atlas carriers at the bottom of the screen. You could get, in particularly, I think it was the 112, where there was 3 sort of along the bottom. You could get rid of those with the drones very easy. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm not too sure. But certainly with the remote raiders, you had a hell of a lot more drones actually active at the same time. So they made the targets a hell of a lot easier. But I suspect that kicks might have something to do with turning down the frequency of them for the next raid. Putting my tinfoil hat on.
No, I agree. And they probably should. They probably weren't aware of that crew.
They want to wear the hat? Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about remote raiders and whether or not anybody's been able to roll one since this.
Okay, well, there's the other issue that let me see if I can find it on the slides, which I know I brought up to you, Lady Cat, as far as I consider what's happening with the drones as being a bug, a fuck up. Slide 37. All right. As most people were familiar with the last raid, the drones did not get targeted. They would wander into fields and they would die. or if they got outside of like a range, they would die. But they did not get targeted. But why the fuck do they have 10 million armor? And then we go back to it's not survival, but it's penetrated defense of 70% and corrosive defense of 50% if they're not supposed to get fired on.
Yeah, something. It's like somebody had a Phillips head and somebody had a flat head, and they didn't talk to each other.
I mean, splash. Yeah, it's hard to get them in where they take splash damage. It's going to be hard to get them to where they're close enough to your ship to take damage, but
these defenses are pretty robust for something that just doesn't cause you any damage. They respawn automatically after it dies. There's a reason they have all these, between the armor points and the corrosive and penetrated defense. There's a reason they have this, right?
Well, what I hope Kix will do then is update the strategy guide to add the drones so that we understand how we're supposed to use them, especially those of us that didn't get an opportunity to try them.
Well, you can't control them.
To me,
you can only hope to contain them, right?
That's right. If you can keep them within the aura, you can sort of shepherd them towards where you want them, but they do tend to wander off the side sometimes. So, it's not an exact science.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe X1 is not a game changer. I thought it was based on the videos I saw, but I think where I was most bothered by it was that at the beginning when all these upgrades happened, they were all just very optional. And yes, it would make the game better, but it usually wasn't by a lot. And I thought this was maybe by a lot and was a game changer. So that was what was upsetting me about it. Not that I didn't have them. Yes, I wanted them, but I was more upset that the upgrades, all of a sudden, we have to do them. And it's not really a choice anymore.
Yeah, I just feel like they should have been targeted from the beginning. I don't know. But yeah, it just feels like with these kind of stats, they should have gotten targeted and they didn't get targeted. And so therefore people are going to get upset when they get targeted next time. Because I don't,
And I think people get upset if they're required next time.
Yeah.
You would think they would be required next time because you're looking at targets that will presumably be tuned for fully upgraded fleets.
Yep.
Well,
normally the last one, the X1's preferred at the very least.
I think it would be so hard to tune for like drones versus not because, here's if they were targetable, here's a bunch of free shields that constantly respawn and go out and take all the hits for me. It's like, yeah, that's not one does not simply tune for that versus regular fleets.
Yeah, it's So
I just hope they start providing more upgrade tokens. Since our builds are getting faster, that's great. Our upgrades are getting longer. It seems like they're more required than they used to be. So we need to find some balance there. That's all.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to post the link again in case anybody wants to join the show, and I guess we'll see y'all on Friday, and maybe I'll deal with some of the other issues that we didn't cover at this point in time. And thank you all for showing up. And it has been a long show, but there's not my fault. I didn't even cover a lot of stuff that came out this week, so we'll try and cover more of that on Friday. And maybe we'll talk about maybe we'll talk about some more items that don't make a lot of sense at that point in time, but we'll get to that. So later, everybody.
Good night, all.
Bye,
See ya.
everybody.
Bye.